ready for that just yet, but you are you are at a place where it'd be good for you to start thinking about that. Or maybe you're ready to start thinking about like landing that first job that will get you to the job you want. And today's topic is on networking. So if you will please do me a favor, just make sure that you have your microphones muted. By default, they should be. And if you have your screens on, if you just turn your screens off, because again, the session will be recorded. But I do want to mention a couple of other things before we get started. Today's guest is Sue Barsoum. She is with 20 Monroe Live. Hi, Sue. And we also have on here is myself, Eric Kelleher. I'm a career readiness consultant with ISD, and my colleague Jerry Verway. He's hiding right now, but my colleague Jerry Verway, there he is. He's a career readiness consultant, ISD as well, and he is on to assist. He's going to help check the chat room and just kind of make sure I don't mess everything up, I guess. The goal for today's session is to help you guys, you students, to ready yourselves for your future careers by exploring critical steps in the job preparation process. And again, today's session is focusing on networking. I want to make something really, really clear before we officially get started. And that is that the session is being recorded. I've mentioned that a couple times, just want to make that clear. And that means for any educators watching right now, you'll be able to go back and watch archives of this later. We are going to post this to our Career Readiness YouTube channel, and you can find that by doing Kent ISD Career Readiness in YouTube. And it'll take a couple of days, but we'll put these up, and all this week's series will be up there, so that if you found that to be valuable and you want to use it again next semester or next year, that's the intent. And our hope is that this gets to be used over and over and over again. The other important feature, and I know we have a lot of students on, and students are, and even adults sometimes are hesitant when it comes to online training or sessions. It's very easy to be a passive observer. And I get that. I'm hoping that you get some really good stuff out of it. But this session is for you, young people. So if you have a question at any time, use the chat box to just type the question in. You don't have to wait for a certain moment, because if we can't address it right away, we will definitely circle around back to it. Later, I'm going to give it a time for open Q&A, and Sue's going to answer some questions. And if you feel more comfortable when we do the Q&A session, actually asking a question out loud, you're just not great about typing or you're not fast enough with it, then I will say, hey, I'm going to wait 5 seconds. If you have a question, unmute your microphone, ask your question, and just please remember to mute it again if you feel more comfortable doing that. But if it's right now or long during the presentation and it's not an appropriate time to ask it out loud, type it in the chat box. Please, 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 we want your questions. Because my guess is if you have a question, probably somebody else has the same question. All right, with that, I want to make sure that I turn on my recording. Oh, looks like it's already been recorded. All right, my buddy's already on that. And I'm just gonna say one more time, welcome to our career prep series. Our theme this week is landing the job you want. Our topic today is networking. And today's guest is Sue Barsoum with 20 Monroe Live. And with that, I am going to turn it over to you, Sue.
Thank you so much. I am going to share my screen and do this. Okay, so here we go. So my name is Sue. Thank you so much for having me, Eric, and inviting me to this presentation. I'm really honored to be here. I am the general manager of 20 Monroe Live in downtown Grand Rapids. I grew up in Grand Rapids on the southeast side, and I am a product of our school system. So I'm really proud of that, and I'm happy to be home doing what I love. This presentation is about networking. It is by far the most important skill you'll learn for job readiness. It is sometimes scary, but it is really, really important because the world is about who you know, and that is just the way it is. So for those of you who've never heard of networking or sort of wondering what it is, networking is the process of meeting people and making connections. So we can meet people all day long. We meet our grocery store clerk, we meet the parent of a friend, but really networking is more about who you make connections with, someone that you have a lasting moment or two, a conversation that is meaningful to you, that you remember and that they remember. Networking is also about putting yourself out into the world with confidence and humility. So what I mean by that is you can't be shy. Networking is not about being shy. It is maybe hard to believe, but I actually am a pretty shy person, and I often have to put on my networking face. Which means that you have to be genuine, because you have to be genuinely interested in what the person has to offer. And you have to be confident. You have to believe in yourself that you can actually be in the room with these people or on the phone or having a conversation with an email, and that you deserve to be. Network is also allows people to share resources and information. So the internet is great for this, but it is not the same as person-to-person sharing. Your life experiences are different than my life experiences, and together we can share information. Things that may be helpful to me could be really helpful to you. Things that I have never experienced, maybe you experience all the time. So it's really important to remember that it's about sharing your resources and your information. It's also, and this is a big one, it helps gain access to opportunity. So a big lesson that I learned as a young adult is that if you don't ask, you won't get. So if there's something that you want to experience, you have to put yourself out there and access it. And the way that you do that is by networking. So finding who is doing what you want to be doing and figuring out how you can access them. It's also important because, and I said this earlier, that the real world is often about who you know. And that may sound harsh, especially in all of the years of school. I was telling my son that I did 16 years of school. I got my master's after college. And even with all of that school, a lot of my jobs have come from who I knew and the connections that I've made through networking. It's also important to remember this. What you know gets you to the door, right? So if there's a door that you want to knock on, what you know about that situation will get you to the door. Who you know will have the person open the door for you. But once you're in the door, how you execute what you know will keep you in the building. So this is kind of like a metaphor, right? You could know a lot about a subject and you could find someone who's doing it. But once you get into the door and start having the conversation with the person, if you're not paying attention to the conversation, if you're arrogant, if you're disengaged, if you're not working hard and the product of your work is not quality, they will close the door on you and push you out with it. So how you execute what you know keeps you in the building. And that's how it can help your future. Because every door that opens will lead to another door down the line. So who is in your network? This is really important because it may feel like high schoolers that your network is pretty small right now, but it's not. You have social media, so Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I know you guys use Snapchat, right? That's a big one. Facebook is for the oldies now, although that is me, I will admit. This is important, and I want to take a minute here because social media is a game changer for people's work careers. Don't ever post something on social media that you don't want other people, particularly adults or those who you're trying to get access to see. It may feel like it's your own personal page, but on the internet, nothing is your own and nothing is personal. So make sure that if you're chasing something, you have quality information on your social media pages, not inappropriate things. Because people do social media stalk you now. So someone reaches out, for example, I got a job at 20 Monroe Live, and I lived in New York for 20 years after high school and college. And my new set of managers wanted to find out who I was. So guess what they did? They went on the internet and they searched for my name to try to gain access about who I was, what I looked like, what I was into, what my interests were. So make sure that you're ready for that. Other people in your network are your family, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, your great aunt, you know, third removed, whoever it is. Your family works, your family has jobs. You should find out what they do and see if anything that they do interests you. Your friends are your network. Your friends have lots of different, really amazing interests. So talk to them and see who they know. Your family friends, right? I go to church. And so our family friends, we have a large network of people who we see every Sunday who we're connected to. Parents of your friends. So when my son grows up, his mom is gonna work in the music industry, and I would be someone that I would expect some of his friends to actually reach out to. Your teachers are an amazing resource. They know lots of people in the community and they're ready to help you. That's why they're teachers. So make sure that you reach out to them. Excuse me. Employers, your parents' employers, different community businesses, people, if you have a part-time job at a grocery store, the people who run the grocery store, the people who deliver to the grocery store, the people who shop at the grocery store, all of those people are in your network. And I think if you're in high school, you should be volunteering. We had to at my high school, and volunteer coordinators are really important. You should take every opportunity to volunteer and get to know people at those organizations that you're volunteering at. And then this is the big one. Who's in your network? People in your community who are already doing the job you want to be doing. So there aren't a lot of entertainment jobs in West Michigan. And I decided after talking to a bunch of them that I needed to go to a different market to find the people who were doing what I wanted to be doing. And that's what I did. And that's how I started. But I took an internship at the Grand Rapids Civic Theater when I was a senior in high school. And it was so boring. I looked at a script for weeks on end and just read lines to people who forgot them. But the people that I met in those weeks opened doors for me. And that is what's really important. You have to be able to sit in the pocket and reach out and work with people who are already doing the things that you want to be doing. Does anybody have any questions right now? Okay. So who do you want to meet? And what questions do you want to ask? So once you've identified who's in your network and what questions you want to ask, these are things that you can think about, right? So it's important to identify people that you'd like to be your mentor. People will surprise you with how much that they're willing to share, right? The world, every single adult you might meet is there because someone has helped them. So they are willing to give back, and you will be surprised at the kindness of people and how much they want to help you. But this is important. You have to be willing to work hard. They will give and open up to you, but you have to be able to return that. And this is silly, but people love to talk about themselves. People like to be seen. That's why we take selfies of ourselves all the time, because we want to feel seen. We want to feel important. But once you have that person's attention, take genuine interest and actively listen. So I highlighted that in yellow because if I'm on my phone while you're trying to ask me questions, do you think that you're going to feel that I'm super interested in what you have to say? Absolutely not. So make sure that you're actively listening, because there are innuendos and things that are left unsaid sometimes that a person will maybe be dropping hints, or they also want to know that you're genuinely interested in what they have to say. So make sure you're actively listening when you have that person's attention. Ask about their professional and personal path. Did they go to college or a vocational school? Who helped and mentored them? Did they do an internship? I cannot tell you how important internships are. They are the difference between just a job and the job you want. So remember that. Excuse me. Does this person have an internship that you can do? Right? Is the person that you're talking to, do they have an opportunity for you? And what do they like best and least about their jobs? So my talent buyer has been booking shows in West Michigan and around the Midwest for 30 years. And he built lots of different artists. NF, he was one of the first people to see at a county fair once. And then he really liked his stuff and built them up. And so when I asked him what he likes best about his job and least about his job, he said, I love my career, but I hate my job. And what he meant by that was he loves developing artists. He loves bringing artists to the stage. He loves bringing artists to an audience, right? But he hates the 24-hour nature of it, or the agents calling him saying, I need this contract yesterday, or his boss saying, why didn't this show perform the way that we wanted it to, right? So that kind of insight will be really helpful for you. If you're looking for a job that you can sort of turn off and, you know, be home when you're home with, going into entertainment is probably not the job for you. And asking those kinds of questions will help you determine the nuances of what that person is talking about. And then this one was a really, really big one for me. When I was in college, I won't lie to you, I wanted someone to tell me exactly what to do, how to do it, and where it would take me. And it was really a really hard lesson to learn that every person's path is different and it's non-linear. So you may do one thing and you may hate it, but there may be something happening over here in the corner that you had never thought about. So an experience that I had was, I was a senior in college and I was supposed to be writing my thesis about how I wanted to stage manage. So I took an internship at the Actors Theater of Louisville. And it was a summer-long internship. I had my own apartment. It was amazing. Turns out, I did not want to stage manage for the rest of my life. I didn't know how to read music. It was 24 hours a day in the rehearsal room and then 24 hours a day in the theater with the shows. It wasn't my life. But I saw what a marketing department does or what a fundraising department does. And it turned into not just the play's relationship to the audience, but a theater's relationship to a community. And that was life-changing for me. And I wouldn't have known that if I didn't open myself to being on a different path than maybe I thought would be mine, if that makes sense. So learning about how others got to where they are will inform what decisions are best for you.
So we have about 3 or 4 minutes before we want to get to questions. So, and we've got a couple that have come in. I just wanted to give you a heads up.
Great, thank you. So the power of yes. This is really important. Say yes to every opportunity. I picked up mail for a producer for a couple of weeks while she was out of town doing a show in Vegas. I picked it up. It was always at her door, in her apartment, when the time came for her to come home. And she knew I could be trusted. So I said yes to picking up mail for someone. That woman got me an internship later, 3-4 years down the line. Then that led me to a job. So say yes to every opportunity. Do not make assumptions or artificial judgments. You don't know who you're talking to. A person that may look super poor could be super rich, and vice versa. A person who looks super uneducated could be a researcher working on the COVID vaccine. So you never know who you're talking to. Be clear and concise. Do not waste people's time. Know what you want to say and say it. Be on time. This is the stage manager in me. Be early. Early is on time. If you have a meeting with someone, whether it's in Zoom or at a coffee shop, be on time. Be prepared. Work hard and be honest. Take responsibility. It's totally okay to make mistakes, but take responsibility for them once you're in the door. The larger your network, the greater your sphere of influence. So have a big circle. Make sure that it's not just you and your tiny group of people around you. The bigger your circle, the more people you know. Leverage your partnerships. Hey, you're interested in this. I know someone who does that. Let me connect you. Be the best. There are lots of people trying to do exactly what you're trying to do. Stand out and be the best. Do your homework. Know people's backgrounds. Do their research. Stalk them on social media. And then grow organically. Create organic and true relationships with people. This is a real world example of 20 Monroe Live. So our special events department and our premium seating department work very closely together. And you can see that the American Heart Association introduced a law firm, Barnes and Thornburg, to us. They actually booked an event after we had the American Heart Association event. Barnes and Thornburg then purchased premium seating tickets, and they referred Miller Johnson, which is another law firm, to us. They booked an event later in, or like the month earlier, right? So all of the people are networked. Our caterers, we have great relationships with our caterers. They recommended Lighthouse Group to us. Hello West Michigan was a reference from the right place. So all of these things are connected. 8 guests or organizations became clients in 2019. 6 inquiries came from those organizations that attended those events. So everything is connected, especially in a place like West Michigan. We're small, everybody knows each other. And then this is important, actually reach out to people. Pick 3 people. This was an assignment in my graduate class. It was the first assignment on the first day of grad school. Pick 3 people you want to reach out to. Practice and prepare your elevator speech. Who are you? Why'd you choose this person to reach out? What's your objective? And then how you're going to reach out. And then how you're going to meet. I know life is weird right now, so maybe it's just a Zoom meeting, but pick 3 people and reach out to them. Put yourself out there. That's my challenge to you. And then I'll leave this here for a minute. These are real life examples. I wanted you to see the language that I use. I tell people who I am, where I am in my life, and what I'd like from them. I'm polite, I'm genuine, and then I also am to the point. They're not super long and winded emails. I attach my resume so that they know what I'm about. My final slide is basically 4 points for you to remember. It's not about what this person can do for you. It may feel like that initially when you want an internship or a job, but it's more about what you can do for this person. Once you're in the door, how can you be your best self and how can you service them? Your reputation is everything, so stand out, be the best. If you suck at something and you don't take ownership for it, they will remember it. And when someone says, hey, have you heard of this and this person? They just reached out and sent me an email. And I'll say, yeah, they did a really poor job on this Excel document for me and just had no idea how to organize it. I'm going to be truthful with my colleague, right? Because I don't want to put them in a difficult situation. So your reputation is everything. And then stay in touch. The people that you meet will be there for you later down the road. So it's not about one interaction. It's about 10 interactions down the line.
Cool.
That's what I got.
That's some great stuff. And Sue, we've got actually several questions in here. If you'd be willing, A, to stop sharing your screen so people can see you on a full screen, and B, are you okay with us sharing this presentation out later?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we'll make sure that we can share this presentation out for people to see at a later time. But we got several questions in here. one of the questions was, how do you find opportunities to actually make people, like basically, where do you actually start?
The internet, right? So I would just even go to Google Maps. And for me, I would type in theaters, or I would type in music concerts, and I would find the internet, the intersection. I'd find the Pyramid Scheme. I'd find 20 Monroe Live. I'd find St. Cecilia's. I'd find the DeVos Center. And then I would look up each and every one of those spots and look at their staff listings. And then lots of places have their emails or an info line, and then just email that. Hey, my name is Sue. I'm a student at X. I'd really love to talk to the GM of this place. Could you put me in touch?
Awesome. That's great. That's great. Another question was, how did you decide to choose your occupation? Was it based on a prior experience or someone you knew or something else? Because it sounds like things you said is once you knew what you wanted to do, you were able to build connections. But how did you get there in the first place?
Yeah, my dad wanted me to be a pharmacist. He was pissed when I, chose theater for a career. But I had an English teacher who thought that I was really great at literature and organization, and that's my nephew. And she thought that I was a good leader. So at first I cast me in an acting role, and I was terrible. She changed the play from like a moving and acting play to just like a radio play where you stood and read at a mic. That's how bad I was. And then after that, she said, hey, would you like to be a stage manager for our high school shows? And she taught me what that meant. And I fell in love.
Great, great. Another question was, how should I decide what so it's a little bit more than networking. This is a little bit heavier, but how should I decide what my occupation is going to be, is what somebody said.
Try, right? Ask a police officer for their time. Ask a pharmacist for their time. Ask me for my time. Ask, find out. Internships are really awesome. That's why I tried to spend a minute on that, right? You may spend 6 months of your life doing an internship in finance at the bank and you hate it, right? Check that off the list, not finance.
Awesome. Awesome. We have a couple more minutes and we might go a minute or two over, but I want to ask, because we did get a couple of people writing questions in, but like I said at the beginning, I will do this. I'm going to wait 5 seconds. And if people had verbal questions that they wanted to share, you can go ahead and do that. I do have a couple of questions as well, but I want to give you your chance to ask your questions first. So I'll wait 5 seconds if anybody had a specific question to ask. Okay, we didn't get anywhere, but you can still jump in at any point. There were a couple other questions I thought. You and I talked about a few of these ahead of time. Maybe kids are thinking the same thing. Is it appropriate to just flat out ask people for jobs?
You don't ask, you don't get.
I love that response too. That's a great response. And it's funny that you use that very phrase, because I've used that phrase many times in my life. And when people say, I can't believe you asked, I'm like, you don't ask, you don't get. I agree with that. Obviously, you do it in an appropriate way because you can turn people off really easily, but it's still.
Yeah, I wouldn't say, hey, give me a job. I would say, hey, what opportunities are in your organization that you could connect me with?
And that could start with saying, do you have any volunteer opportunities, right? Because that way you're not, yeah, absolutely. It's just all about the ask. So another good question came in, said, what is a good job for students to start off with?
Anything. A grocery store clerk. My first job was in a retail store at a fancy dress shop, right? And I put dresses back, and I hated prom season because people would just come in and put dresses away. But the manager at the store knew a lot of people in town, and she connected me to a lot of people that I could say like, hey, what do you do for a living? Can I grab, what I mean? Can I shadow you for a day? So it doesn't matter where you start. It's just what matters is, how you act when you're there and the people that you talk to when you have that job.
Yeah, something you said earlier really stood out to me. Without saying in these exact words, basically everybody you come in contact with is a potential networking opportunity. So you would mention something about like the way you carry yourself, the way you speak to people, the way you treat people. It all matters because you have no idea later if that person is going to be impactful in helping you to get where you want to go. So that's a great point. And so even your first job, even if it's a job you hate, it's not about so much about the job or the tasks or the menial components of it. It's about opportunities, things that you're learning, as well as you never know when you might meet somebody that can help you down the road.
Yeah, whatever job it is, do it well.
Good. Another question came in, when is a good time to look for a job?
Whenever you're ready. If you have a car, go get it. If you have parents who can drive you, go get it. If there's a public bus next to, you know, within walking distance, get a job. Like whenever you feel like you're ready, but make sure that you are ready, because it is a responsibility. So if your work right now is school, then make sure that school is what's the most important, but don't spread yourself too thin because you want to try a job.
Sure. And I have one final question here, and then I'll do a quick wrap up because we're pretty much out of time. But what if I'm shy? And I'm sure we've got some shy students there. There always are. You said yourself you were. But if you're shy, how do you step out of your comfort zone, especially if you are shy?
Send an email. You know, emails are sort of an easy way to have an initial conversation without having to look someone in the eye.
Good. All these are great tips. Really, really appreciate them. So,
good questions.
Oh, and then while I'm pulling up my PowerPoint back up to wrap it up, another question came in. What if we can't find somebody in the thing that you want to do? So that's a great question. So somebody's interested in an obscure career that maybe you can't find around here. What do they do then?
That's what, you know, researching companies and sending informational emails to the info accounts is really important. You know, it doesn't have to be in West Michigan. You could email someone in California. You know, every company has an info account. Email someone wherever they are and ask for help that way. And just keep knocking on doors until someone responds to you. But
That's right.
there is someone who does it. You know, it may not just be here, which is why I left Grand Rapids and moved to New York City.
Great call out. Great call out. Well, I want to wrap it up because I know we've gone a couple minutes over. Really, really quickly, this is a brand new series for us, so we're trying something different. And while there's no obviously requirement, I would really, really appreciate your feedback. So students, if you're willing to, we have a survey for you and one for you for educators, bit.ly/career prep jobs-student. It's a short survey, it could take you in 3 or 4 minutes. bit.ly/career prep jobs-student. If you're willing to go ahead and take that survey, we would love your feedback. And for educators, bit.ly/career prep jobs-educator. bit.ly/career prep jobs-educator. Again, I just want to also thank you so much, Sue, for your time. I think you gave us a lot of valuable insights. Sue said it was okay for us to share her email address with you. If maybe you didn't get a chance to ask your question, or it came to at the last minute, or you just really say, hey, you know, you're the person I actually want to talk to about the career stuff or maybe networking, then reach out to her. Her email address is suebarsoum@livenation.com. Did I say that right?
Yep.
All right. And everybody who's on, I saw a couple more things in the chat box. I do, for educators who are paying attention or online today, my email address is erickelleher@kentisd.org. And I did add some resources. And I'm going to go ahead, again, I told you we'll put it on our YouTube channel, but I'll also share out the PowerPoint that Sue had. We also have some resources that around networking under bit.ly/career prep-networking. And we're going to have a bunch of stuff. Our website is being revamped. And as soon as we have that done, we're going to put that up as well. I'm about 5 minutes over, but that's because we had a lot of great stuff. So I'm going to let everybody go. Thank you for your time, everybody. We appreciate it. Thank you, Sue, for your time. It was really invaluable.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, everybody.